And we are live.
We are. We're live. We're not live. We're live.
We are live on another Monday here in the Sentinel newsroom. Hello to our viewers watching at home. We've got good news. Our climb to the top of the media rankings just got a little bit easier, folks. Alex Jones has been removed as a competition, pretty much deplatformed everywhere. I guess on iTunes, Facebook, YouTube. What else?
He was on Spotify. Is this how it all started? Because he was added to Spotify and everyone's like, hold on a sec.
I honestly don't know, but this is good news in my opinion. Fuck Alex Jones.
Fuck Alex
Sayonara,
Jones.
bitch.
Yeah. I mean, if I had some weirdo in my Minchies saying that Sandy Hook was was done by crisis actors, I would swing the ban hammer too.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want people fucking clogging up your discourse here with that bullshit. We see right-wingers time and time again attack corporate freedom when it inconveniences them. Now, granted, if you wanted to make the case maybe that there's an antitrust violation by Facebook and YouTube and the podcast app, maybe that's a different thing altogether. That said, I think any responsible manager of a medium has a duty to ban InfoWars. It's not the government banning them. It's not a violation of free speech.
One of our viewers, Don't Look Now, noted that Alex is still on Twitter.
He is. He is still on Twitter. I think he still has a check
You know
mark.
who's not on Twitter? Dude Slater's not on Twitter. And Dude Slater's done far less than Alex Jones, in my opinion, on Twitter.
Definitely.
And also doing more than Dude Slater on Twitter. What's up with Saudi Arabia basically threatening to do a 9/11 on Canada on Twitter?
Yeah.
Was that a confession? Did Saudi Arabia just
sure
confess
like
to doing a 9/11?
They might have.
One of the 9/11s?
The background being that the Saudi government kicked out the Canadian ambassador, declaring them persona non grata after a dispute over human rights, and Saudi threatened to 9/11 Canada.
I'm really curious how that went down. Like, was that an innocent mistake? I'm not sure how.
I don't know. So we're referring to a meme on Twitter that it was put out by the Saudis, and it shows an airplane going towards what appears to be the Air Canada Center in Toronto. I mean, it's definitely Toronto. It's definitely the Air Canada Center. And there's definitely a plane on the image heading toward the Air Canada. Maybe it's because it's an Air Canada image. Maybe the simple explanation is it was taken from an Air Canada magazine. But no.
The plane looked superimposed on the image. It was not the same lighting or anything.
The text was something else, too. Can we pull up the text real quick before we start the show here?
Are you going to pull it up?
I will give it a go here if I can. Let's see if I can do that here. Saudi. Oh, wait, I remember. I saw it on Facebook. Got to go on Facebook here to check out Saudi Arabia threatening to 9/11 Canada, of all countries. Canada. Not a perfect nation, but I'm not sure if they deserve a 9/11.
Certainly not.
All right, I'm getting closer here. Let me see. Okay. And we have so the text here is this is a verified account. It says infographic _KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, blue check mark. As the Arabic saying goes, he who interferes with what doesn't concern him finds what doesn't please him. Hashtag Saudi Arabia, hashtag Canada, and then above that, the text is repeated on the image, and then above it, it says sticking one's nose where it doesn't belong.
What the fuck?
And yeah, there is definitely an airplane headed toward the Air Canada Center. It really looks like some 9/11 shit.
Let's get the newscast started, shall we, on that? This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We are broadcasting out of the Internate is Not a Worker studios in Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com. Shout out to Nicolas Maduro, still alive, down in Venezuela from an apparent drone assassination attack.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Happened on TV. I'm sure you all have probably seen the video by now. Comes after Mike Pence has been traveling around Latin America, rattling his saber. We've seen Trump basically ask why we can't invade Venezuela. We've seen reports come out that he's been pressing for that internally, asking questions about it.
Yeah. Also comes after the newly passed National Defense Authorization Act instructs the Pentagon to look into ties between Venezuela and Russia, which came a year after the National Defense Authorization Act asked the Pentagon to look for ties between Venezuela and Iran.
That comes after the year after the National Defense Authorization Act asked the Pentagon, what's the deal with Venezuela and Cuba?
That's a story we highlight in the latest zine that just dropped, our District Sentinel Weekly Dispatch, available to our Patreon subscribers, $3 and up a month. Check that out right now. We got stories in there about the foreclosure king, Steve Mnuchin.
That's right. Steve might not be the sex-having machine that he thinks he is, but he does have a thing for machines. He does have a thing for machines. As you note, or as I note, or as we note, or whatever in the story, it's basically about recent push for deregulation by Treasury and machine learning and algorithmic stuff, and Mnuchin having meltdowns when people bring up him being the foreclosure king via robo-signing.
Yeah, those are just a few of the stories that are out right now at the District Sentinel Weekly Dispatch. Become a subscriber. $5 a month, you get the zine, and you get to watch us do this show. You get to watch the live stream. You get to see Sam Knight's garbage can shirt that he's wearing. We got someone watching, says, nice garbage can. Roy says, nice garbage can shirt.
Thanks, Roy.
What's up, Alex? What's up, Luke? Roy, LJ. Thanks for tuning in. $5 a month, patreon.com/District Sentinel. You get the live stream. You also get access to bonus content and your own poem, a haiku, and we've got some to read right now. This one's for Dan. Gaming history shows if Gandhi had the nuke, he would have used it.
Thank you, Dan. This is for Caleb. Gaming history also shows that two plumbers can fuck up turtles.
True. Thank you, Caleb. This one is for Brad. AC off, too hot. AC on, too fucking loud. Newsroom dilemma.
Thank you, Brad. Finally, this is for Scott. Computers get hot. Silicon Valley bothered. Collectivize tech.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. I can get behind that. Thank you to all our new subscribers on Patreon. That includes Austin, Audient, Joshua, AJ, and Christopher. Your haikus are in the pipeline. Keep listening this week. They're coming up.
Really like the haiku music.
I It is peaceful before we get into the real hardcore shit. It's about to go down on this show. All right. It is Monday, August 6th, 2018. Here's the news. Sanctions back on Iran. On Monday, President Trump reimposed sanctions on Tehran's precious metal sectors and automobile industry. The economic penalties were lifted as part of the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iran nuclear deal that was signed during the Obama administration and then broken by the Trump administration. Luckily, for global stability's sake, no one really gives a shit about the new sanctions imposed by the U.S. today. The European Union also on Monday moved to shield any European firms from U.S. legal action in connection to doing business with Iran. So, doesn't matter, basically, is what Europe said. That's because European nations, Iran, and everyone else involved with the deal are moving forward as though the deal is still in place. The Trump administration, though, promised to snap even more sanctions back on Iran. Actions targeting Iran's energy sector, including petroleum-related transactions, as well as businesses by foreign financial institution with the Central Bank of Iran, will be taken by November. Let's not forget that the rush to reimpose sanctions on Iran started last year when Democrats joined with Republicans to sanction the country, even though that action threatened President Obama's nuclear agreement. But the new sanctions on Russia were also included in the bill, so every Democrat in the Senate supported it.
Bernie didn't because he is Putin's puppet.
What's going on here?
What's going on is we forgot to email it to each other, and I have to read it off that screen. So people watching might know this, but you can cut this out of the podcast version.
That's fine. No, we'll cut it out of the podcast
version. Right. But people watching, they might be a little confused right now. Late last week, a federal district judge ruled that the Trump administration had no cause to rescind DACA. Today, the attorney general hit out at the decision. Jeff Sessions today said, quote, "The judicial branch has no power to eviscerate the lawful directives of Congress, nor to enjoin the executive branch from enforcing such mandates. Unfortunately for Sessions, 3 separate judges have ordered the administration to restore DACA, as The Hill pointed out today." According to ABC News, Judge John Bates hinted that the government could legally rescind DACA, just not how Trump officials have gone about it. Bates was initially appointed to the federal bench, by the way, by George W. Bush. The administration has 20 days from Friday to appeal. If it chooses not to, Bates gave the government 90 days, quote, to remedy the decision's inadequacies. The government was first ordered by the judiciary in January to reverse its cancellation of DACA. In April, Bates affirmed that decision and forced the Trump administration to accept new applicants. DACA, of course, grants temporary protection from deportation to roughly 700,000 undocumented U.S. residents. All were brought to the country as children.
So if you're Facebook and you're already dealing with concerns about how you're too loose with users' private data and how your associations with shady third parties have led to sensitive data breaches, then you probably don't want to be reaching out to Wall Street banks about sharing more users' data. But that's exactly what Facebook is doing. The social media giant has reached out to banks to acquire the consumer spending habits in a bid to make its instant messaging platforms more shopper-friendly. Why? Why do that? Anyway, that's all according to the Wall Street Journal, which also reported that some banks have already walked away from that deal with Facebook, citing privacy concerns, probably afraid of the blowback when this is revealed.
I mean, goddamn, it is a sad day when your brand is too toxic for Wall Street.
Yeah. Facebook monitoring our financial transactions so that they can better target us with ads when we're on instant messenger. In the end, it all pays off, though, for Facebook. The company's stock price was up more than 3.5% today as a result of its closer ties with banks. Saw that as we were walking into the studio. Not sure what its price is at the close, but I guess Wall Street isn't too concerned about privacy after all.
I guess it makes sense that Wall Street would, after all, be into some sketchy stuff with computers. As we noted at the top of the show, there's Sex Having Steve looking at machine learning at Treasury. And also Wells Fargo, some new news about Wells Fargo broke late last week, highlighted by CNN yesterday, which were that over 400 people were put into foreclosure incorrectly because of a software bug. Because of a software bug, people were trying to apply for mortgage modifications that were offered after 2008 under the Treasury Department. Wells had a software bug. 600 people were improperly put into foreclosure, and over 400 lost their fucking homes.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Sounds like we need more computer nerds to team up with Wall Street banks, huh? President Trump has weighed into a gubernatorial race, endorsing the opponent of a Republican incumbent.
The goober steps in.
The day before the primary. He threw his support of all candidates. He chose Chris Kobach, the former Kansas Secretary of State. He was vying for the top position in Topeka. It's a fun phrase to say, the top position in Topeka. Anyway, President said in a tweet, quote, Chris Kobach, a strong and early supporter of mine, is running for governor of the great state of Kansas.
That's really all that matters to Trump.
Loyalty. Yeah, no, that's true. Continuing, quote, he is a fantastic guy who loves his state and our country. He will be a great governor and has my full and total endorsement. Trump added, strong on crime, border, and military, vote Tuesday.
It's like, does he like me? Check. Does he stand for the national anthem? Check. Does he not have a mustache? Check.
Many people know Kobach as the guy who headed Trump's bogus voter fraud commission. He has also helped other voter suppression efforts, namely by pushing expansion of the cross-check system to 30 states from 10 after becoming Kansas Secretary of State in 2011. According to one major academic study published late last year, cross-check is likely to kick off 300 legitimate registrants for every one legitimate registrant expunged from the rolls. That's the kind of respect for democracy you can expect from Kobach if he becomes governor.
And of course, that's by design.
Yes. Kobach has also made a name for himself by being a hardline anti-immigration advocate. According to recent reporting by ProPublica and the Kansas City Star, this includes helping towns pass illegal laws that only end up racking up legal fees. Reading from the ProPublica report, quote, Farmers Branch, Texas wound up owing $7 million in legal bills. Hazleton, Pennsylvania took on debt to pay $1.4 million and eventually had to file for a state bailout. In Fremont, Nebraska, the city raised property taxes to pay for Kobach's services. None of the towns are currently enforcing the laws he helped craft. End of quote. End of quote, excuse me. And obviously some of those fees went to courts and things like that, and because of adverse decisions and the towns ending up having to pay the legal fees, Kobach himself did make some money off of that in defending some of these ordinances. So what a great guy. One law professor in the story compared Kobach to the Music Man, a fine fellow Trump has endorsed in the former Secretary of State.
That'll do it for our newscast this week. Bit of a slow news day. We've got Congress out of session this week. Senate just walked out, which we talked about in our zine. They weren't supposed to.
That's right. They were not supposed to, as evidenced by the fact that we had hearings canceled abruptly on Thursday, including Kathy Kraninger, the next CFPB head. She had a hearing that was canceled abruptly. Some speculation as to whether or not this was caused by Jeff Flake, because he's in Africa. Flake fucked off to Africa.
Yeah, he does not give a shit about that. All right.
So yeah, you gotta give him credit for that. You know, we gave Pruitt credit for getting the dirty mattresses, or trying to get the dirty mattresses, which you got to admire that. You also got to admire Flake for just sort of saying, "Fuck it, I'm heading to Zimbabwe."
Let's check the listener rant line.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say that I think that stealing royal jewels is good practice, and hopefully those two jewel thieves in Sweden keep it up, because I don't think the Swedish royal family deserve those jewels any more than the thieves do. So, you know, there's plenty more royal jewels in need of stealing, and you know, well, someone's got to do it. So, have a good one.
The caller's got a point. The royal jewels will not steal themselves there. This is a story out of Sweden, I guess a few days ago. People walked into a church where there was a bunch of like royal jewels on display, just stole them and made off in a speedboat, GTA style.
Wow. Owned.
Yeah, totally owned. Yeah, we're not going to condemn that though here.
No. Why would we?
We're not going to encourage illegal behavior, but we're not going to condemn stealing royal jewels on the show, which has now just ended. Call the rant line 202-684-6108. Sponsors include the Congressional Dish podcast hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or tune in by searching for District Sentinel Radio. Give us a review, give us a rating, tell your friends to listen. Subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/District Sentinel. $5 a month gets you access to bonus content. You get to watch a live stream of this very show that we record, and you get your own haiku read on the air. The newscast is back tomorrow. We're in D.C., so you don't have to be.